A full tour of Cuba's Capitol building. A brief history, El Capitolio, or the National Capitol Building, Capitolio Nacional de la Habana. The building was commissioned by Cuban President Gerardo Machado and built from 1926 to 1929 under the direction of Eugenio Raineri Piedra. It is located on the Paseo del Prado, Dragones, Industria, and San Jose streets in the exact center of Havana. Construction was overseen by the U.S. firm of Purdy and Henderson. Prior to the Cuban Revolution of 1959, the Congress was housed in the building. The Congress was abolished and disbanded following the Cuban Revolution in 1959, and the building fell into disrepair. Although its design is often compared to the United States Capitol, it is not a replica. It is similar to that in Washington, D.C., but a meter higher, a meter deeper, and a meter longer, as well as much richer in detail. In order to complete its construction, they needed more than 5,000 workers, 3 years, 3 months, and 20 days, as well as approximately 17 million American dollars. Completed in 1929, it was the tallest building in Havana until the 1950s. It houses the world's third largest indoor statue. A 10-year comprehensive restoration and upgrade of both its interiors and its exterior, completed by the end of the summer 2019, has brought its original brilliance and magnificence back to life. Tickets to tour are $20 for tourists and 120 pesos for locals. You must have your passport, no copies. Tickets may be purchased only through the San Cristobal Agency at the corner of Tacoma and O'Reilly Streets near the Armas Square. Phone number is 53-7801-7442. This tour is in English with Spanish subtitles. Let's get started.
Honor to Roman gods.
Vamos, despidiendo elevadores porque vamos a ver con gente mayor, una señora que está operada en los pies.
My name is Mariana. How are you? Okay. We're going to do a tour of about 1 hour. It's very difficult to sum up all the history of the Capitol building in 1 hour, but we can do it. We're going to visit the first floor, which is the museum. The rest of the floors upstairs are offices of the Parliament of Cuba. This is the first time after 1959 that the original use of the building started. Before the restoration that lasted for more than 10 years actually, we had here a museum of natural history, we had the Academy of Science of Cuba here. So this is now, for the first time after this many years, the seat of the National Assembly of Cuba. And they left the first floor for public visitors. So let's think about many years ago in Havana, colonial times. We would be standing right now in the forest of the city. At that time, which is basically today the historical center, at that time we knew about this part of the city like San Cristobal de la Havana. San Cristobal was the name of the village that was founded by Spain back in 1519, more than 500 years ago, right? So that small city of only 2.4 square kilometers was protected by city walls. Actually, the first lines of buildings in front of the Capitol building, that was the access of the city wall. At the end of 19th century, the city walls were taken down because this first line of the forest had been already urbanized. The city started to enlarge, to grow beyond the limits of the city walls, and then that's why this big wall was demolished. And immediately all this area became very beautiful. It was the center for economical activities, cultural activities, and of course it became at some point of 20th century the center for political activities. And in terms of use of the plot of land, first we had here the garbage place of the small village. Later we had botanical garden. Later it was the main railway station of the city, and by then the plot of land was owned by the government. So once we started 20th century, the government could and was able to request the plot of land because it was part of the properties, right? And then they thought about, for the first time, 1913 more or less, to build here a legislative palace, able to have in the same place the Chamber of Representatives and the Senate. At that time we had this same structure but in different palaces. So they wanted to have all these in the same place. And they thought of this plot of land because, as you see, it's very well located right in the middle of beautiful area of Havana. And well, they announced contest and many projects were presented. Actually, they finished one ground floor. It never continued, the building work, until 1925 with a Cuban president whose name was Raidel May. Machado was very popular in Cuban history because of good things and very bad things too. We may say a good thing now. We thank him, we have a beautiful piece of architecture, which is the Capitol. So he wanted to have this building finished very fast, and you will be amazed and surprised when you know this was built in only 3 years. Yes, from 1926 to 1929. And because of one reason, it's that Machado was going to celebrate one conference in Havana, a very important meeting with all the countries of the Americas. And he wanted to take the main picture of the conference outside in the steps of the Capitol building. And it was actually a big event in Havana in terms of architecture, building works, cultural activities in the city. For example, this was built, we built the National Hotel. Maybe you have seen that in modern Havana. The National Hotel was for accommodating all head of states visiting for the conference. We had built also the Presidente Hotel for the other parts of the delegations. And the beautiful park of Fraternity in one side of the Capitol building was all planned and decorated, very beautiful, with one ceiba or K-pop tree in the middle. Ceiba is a very special tree in Cuba. We can talk about that later. So surrounding the ceiba was a beautiful fence that could be opened with a golden key that was given to each of the head of states visiting. So this was a big event, right? What we're talking about. This was the 7th conference of fraternity of the countries of the Americas, really long name. So that's why this was finished very fast. When we talk about the architects, the artists, well, in total, 8,000 workers to build all this. It was a project by Cuban architects, Cuban designers, interior designers, but also foreign artists were hired. And very special one was Angelo Sanelli, one Italian artist that was hired by the Ministry of Public Works for decorating the main entrance, so the portico. And he also did this beautiful piece. It's like a triangle. This sculpture and the two outside on both sides of the steps. It shapes a triangle, which is a symbol of Masons. Masonry is very common in Cuba, and it was very common at that time. The President Machado was Mason too. And what the artist was trying to tell you was the values of the Republic. The work on one side of the steps, the virtue of people, and inside the strength of the Republic. This woman is talking about the Republic, that's why the name, the Statue of the Republic. Notice the strength in the abdomen of the woman, very strong arms. It talks about intelligence. This is inspired by Greek goddess Athena. And also it talks about the spirit of progress of the Republic. Notice in the pedestal, there's like a front part of a Greek boat that's talking about moving forward and looking for development. This is a very special piece. What you see is all covered in gold, 24 karat. This was made by recently, actually in the restoration, by a Russian group of specialists that were being part of the restoration work. So it's beautiful work. The statue in total, from the bases to the tip of the spear, yes, it's about 17.54 meters long. So almost 18 meters high. And this, at that time, this was the third largest statue indoors in the world. And notice that we don't say the highest, we say the largest, because we give this nomination according to the amount of material, the volume of material that was used. We're talking about a little bit more than 40 tons. This is solid bronze. This was made in Naples, Italy. It was transported in pieces, and I will show you one picture later in one salon that we had with all pictures of the building works. These were moved in huge ramps that were installed in the steps outside and were assembled here in the place. It was a big event going on in the city at that time. Well, the statue is welcoming you in the hall of the Lost Steps, Salón de Pasos Perdidos, Lost Steps Hall. It's 120 meters long, and it's like a figurative name. It's so big that when you walk, people staying here when we are, they cannot listen to your steps, so it's like the steps are lost. Well, many elements that were used for decoration, more than 50 kinds of marble that were brought from Italy, even from Egypt, and that's the case of the pedestal of the Statue of the Republic. That's onyx marble from Egypt, bronze from different parts of the US, from Italy, and they were all cast in the best foundries of France. That's the case of the doors, and we can get close. These are almost 8 meters long, 8 meters high doors, and this is trying to copy or trying to recreate different passages or different events of the history of Cuba, like in pages of the book. So we call the main doors the Bronze Book of the Capitol building, and it starts there. The early inhabitants of Cuba, the natives that we had here when Christopher Columbus arrived. We talk about that encounter or clash of the two worlds. We talk about foundation ceremony of Havana. You can even see there the ceiba tree that you can see talked about in the historical area. We have different passages of the independence wars, the work of Jose Marti, the national hero, founding the Revolutionary Party of Cuba trying to organize the war. And here, in the final pages of this book, we have one leaf before the Republic, the other leaf of the door after the Republic. And this is really interesting. We even have the building work of the Capitol building, and these two pages that really caught our attention. You notice the faces. Some faces are missing. And this happened in, we can say, Raisa, I don't know how to say that, like in a riot, general riot in the city in the 30s, general riot that was, in the 20s. People of the city came here just to damage or erase Machado's face to them to build this building. So this is the history of the presidents of Cuba from 1902 on, when we started the Republic. All of them, of course, made things a lot that had people not happy. And none of the faces were scratched, only Machado's face. It's because things were really not going well then. So this is Machado's face missing, and up there, this is talking about the picture they took with all the head of states when the conference happened, 1928. And we believe that these persons might be the president of the US at that time that was invited, and actually that's why the conference was so important, because they were expecting for Calvin Coolidge at that time, the US president. And the other person might be President Machado. I don't know, because this is too skinny. Machado was a little bit fat, yes. Might be the US ambassador in Havana. This is the rumor, because there's no document saying the characters of each part of the door. This is what we assume. Yes. So as you see, it's beautiful piece. There's a part of the door, I don't know, maybe the other. Yes, the one in the middle. They had at some point the name of the foundation. You can look for it later. Then if you agree, we can start visiting rooms. Yes. Or if you want to take more pictures here, you may have to. You will see a lot of symbols, a lot of hidden symbols that have to do with the Republic at that time. For example, one that you can see, the RC, Republic of Cuba. That's the symbol of the Capitol building, and you will see that repeated many times. In case of the decoration side, or the style of decoration, this is basically Italian Renaissance style, very marked. Although in some rooms it might change the interior decoration, but this is what we are going to be seeing all the time. The big roses. If you notice the ceiling, they try to repeat that pattern on the floor. So the floor is like a mirror of the ceiling. This is a very common pattern to see in many big and beautiful churches in Europe. And well, the lamps that we call them torches, torcheras in Spanish, is were made in the light bulb by Tiffany from the US. wing of the Capitol building. That was used, this was installed here. This was used by the Chamber of Representatives. When they had meetings here, these huge doors were closed. They are bulletproof doors with the same symbol in the middle, RC. The room was for press conferences given by the head of the Chamber of Representatives. In this case, the ceiling is decorated in Rococo style. In case of a head of state or an important visit was here to meet the president of the chamber, this was the room. This was basically for protocol activities. Yes, it's very nice. If you could see the building before the restoration, you wouldn't believe. This is a big change. It's the first capital restoration of the building. Imagine that we had here offices of the different ministries. So here, for example, they had sectioned the rooms. They had window air conditioning. So it was different from now. So this is really, it's a beautiful resort. Students of the trade schools of Havana were part of this. All the ceilings were, yes. 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 At the very beginning, we did tours here wearing helmets. You say helmets? Because all the scaffolding still the ceiling. These names were given after 59. So all the rooms, names are related to Cuban heroes, like Camilo Cienfuegos, or heroes of the continent, or are related to places where we had important combats during the period of independence wars against Spain. So these are new names. Only to this wooden yes. We have meetings here in the parliament, but not when all of them are in this, not the whole parliament members. Right now we have more than 600, like 605 or 600, a little bit more members in the parliament, and there's no enough space here. So they use it in small meetings. They all have a meeting together in a different place. Conference center of Havana. So this is the real furniture. It's been restored, but it was a beautiful resort too. This is like, like all the parliaments room in the world. The idea is trying to copy like a theater. In this case, divided into two different levels. People invited upstairs. You see the balconies, like in an opera house, like in a theater. The balconies were for the President of the Republic. If he was invited, he can sit there. Or for diplomatic staff in the island, they were invited to the session. They would be sitting there. And the presidency, there's a door open behind the presidency that goes directly to the office of the President of the Chamber. For a reason of security, and it was more comfortable for him too. He didn't have to go around. So his office, we're going to see that from the other side. This is very historical salon here. There were many rounds of discussions for the Constitution of 1940. we're going to visit a room dedicated to the constitutional history of Cuba. But well, it's good for you to know that here we made a lot of debates about this famous constitution. It is famous because it was very progressive constitution in the whole continent in that epoch, 1940. Here there are some seats that are marked, like this one for example, with a bronze plaque, indicating some of the seats of the members that were proposing at that time this progressive, yes, for example, the work only for 8 hours a day for the workers. The workers could organize riots, for example, same salary for women and men in the same. This never happened before, and even after, it was never applied. But they claimed for this. So this was very important at that time. I believe for pencils, yes. And upstairs there's a beautiful glass that's pointed out. Very beautiful. We have a flag up there. It's one of the first flags that were used during Independence Wars. It's not the very first one. The first one, it's very well preserved in the museum of the city.
That's beautiful.
This is one of the first ones.
Because I was thinking about the other flag that is on the
Castro, Fidel heeft spoken hier toe.
Sorry?
Fidel Castro spoken hier.
Well, yes, but later. Long time after. Remember, this was built in 1929.
Yeah,
The revolution happened in 59.
yeah.
Fidel didn't become president until 1976, before he was prime minister. Yes, he gave some speeches here, but later.
There was something written in the 1940 Constitution that in order for a person to become president of Cuba, that person had to be at least 40 years old. And when the revolution took over, Fidel was 33.
This room you can see through the two doors that we have opened. Remember the open door behind the presidency? So this is very beautiful room decorated in Empire style of decoration. Everything is original. Just a few rooms here in the Capitol building still have the original furniture. This is one of them. We call this, is very pretty. We call this the Hall of Mirrors, and it's also known as Bolivar Salon.
Excuse me.
As you see, it's a big, beautiful office for the President of the Republic. Very nice. it was made by an Italian artist. This artist has another pieces in Cuba. I don't know if you have visited Matanzas, the Parque de la Libertad. There's a statue of Jose Marti in the middle. This was made by the same artist, Salvatore Boemi. We believe that Boemi gave this statue of it as a present to one of the heads of the chamber of Itinerary before the Capitol building was built. Later, we don't know how or where this was, but during the term of office of Gerardo Machado, this was placed here, in one of the courtyards or inner yards of the Capitol building. We have two. This in the north wing. Once we go to the other wing, you will see the other patio, the other courtyard. We're going in one special room that has the treasures of the Capitol building, we say. Italian artist that create the Statue of the Republic, the statues on both sides of the steps, and some square pieces like the frieze of the Capitol building. This all was designed by Sanelli. And this is like a small video talking about the places where the statues are located. These are the models, original models that he made in cast here in Havana. These are the original pieces. These pieces are in Cuba since 2015. And just like that, they appeared in wooden boxes in Italy, in the altar of the motherland, Altar de la Patria in Rome, because he decorated this place too in Italy. The family of Sanelli had donated this, and some negotiations between the Office of the Historian of Havana and the Italian government made this possible. So this is enormous. This is Italian heritage. So at some point, we don't know when, this is going back to Italy. But they wanted these pieces to be exhibited in a room of the Capitol building one day after the restoration, and this is happening. Originally, this room was for the press of the center. There's some other pieces on the side. Why the Italian flag in the room. what we have very well preserved and restored in the front of the office of the historian. We have these pieces that goes in shape of a horseshoe glass. This was used in former presidential palace, which is Revolution Museum right now. Yes, Revolution Museum. So you will see different symbols, coat of arms, and this is gold leaf. The pieces that were used here in the background. This was daily use. This was not. Yes, the rest too. We have pieces here by very famous companies like Baccarat from France. That's the case. We have from the US Tiffany, other side is Tiffany. We have companies from the UK, from Germany. And at that time, all these companies had trading houses in Havana. Yes, please look all the ceilings after the rest of the time. There were some Cuban students at grade school, and there were some Italian students. They lived in the experience. Sorry about some stains that you will see in the walls. These are the before the house. Can go. You have to be repainted and repainted. Well, right now we're behind the Statue of the Republic, this other side of the building. The statue in this position, but on the other side. This is a small reception room for small parties or meetings they would organize for a toast or for a celebration. This is known as the Hall of Diplomats or Jose Marti room. And it's like the reception room before going in the huge library of the complex.
So this will be our Library of Congress, right?
Yes. This is the Library of Congress. In the building, we have two libraries. This one here, which is the biggest one, and we have one downstairs, very small, that was used by the Senate. And we all got from France, almost 1 ton, made of bronze. It's pure mahogany, so it's basically Cuban wood. Not all the spaces were covered when we started the restoration. About laws, but many other topics too. Some of them are on the restoration. We accept donations of books. The idea, our dream, is to have this open again for public, as a public library. Fill everything with books again, and people can sit down, very peaceful place, beautiful. Yes, for summer tea. The wall painting, before the restoration, this had layers and layers of paint on top. After the restoration, they discovered this wall paint that, of course, was restored. And this is basically talking about different knowledge, fields of knowledge, like science in general, literature, law, yes, yes.
Books are in that store.
Well, in these two rooms we are visiting next, we have a lot of information, but I won't tell you this much because then you will feel tired. We're talking about the symbols of Cuba, the coat of arms, the national anthem, and the flag of Cuba. In the other side, we have the history of all constitutions. This is one flag that was used during the independence war. These are the travel too. New systems because you need air conditioning in the office, in the offices. You need to put this, add this without changing the structure. We have here different areas in the room. This is all talking about the history of constitutions in Cuba. This is about one document that was made in colonial time, saying that Spain was, yes, total rule here in Cuba. On this side of this table, this is original table that was used. On this side of the table, we have constitutions that are known as mambisas in Spanish. Mambi was the soldier in Cuba that was fighting against Spain. Mambisas, that was the first army that we had. So these are constituciones mambisas, so that were made during that period of independence wars. 4 of them, with different details. These are copies of the original documents. In the other side, line in time after the Republic, after 1901, 1902. We have Constitution of 1940, Constitution of 1976, and constitutions that we have nowadays of 2008. So, constitutions here in a special room, because we are in the capital building, but we have we can be here actually the whole day talking. Room is like a summary. It's unbelievable. It's like the summary of all history of Cuba. And here they established the mandatory port of call for the colonization of the New World, I mean Spain. You agree? We can move on. We have some visits. This is very common in the Capitol building, of different ministries, different offices of the government, because everybody wants to. And remember, this is the seat of the parliament. So also they have their own visits that they guide inside. They want to show the building. So it's very common.
I was looking at you because I thought they were coming again.
And this is the nice room. This is
Beautiful.
trying to collect all the facts that we have talked so far. This is dedicated to the grounds of the Capitol building, the different uses.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about the botanical garden. gardens, all the projects for building the Capitol building. I like this because you can see, and you get to see how symmetrical the structure is. One side is like the reflection of the other. This is one project that never happened, thanks God. The idea of Forestier, the person that designed the gardens of the Capitol building, that he says this is trying to copy the Champs-Élysées. The idea was breaking all the historical area. We wouldn't have nowadays the old square of Havana, none of that. Building this promenade until you get the wall. A lot of historical monuments would be yes. And this is a nice thing too. You can look here for different famous places like St. Peter's in Rome, number 1. This is for you to compare the height of the building. We are number 3. We are number 3. Capital of Washington's number 5. Here. This dome here is 92, about 92 meters high. Washington is a little bit. Maybe in the books you will see written that this is a copy of the Washington DC, however, it's not a copy. These are different buildings. It's a Capitol building. If you have a Capitol building, of course you need a dome.
Yeah.
Steps, it's rules of this kind of architecture. It's a Capitol building.
Yeah.
There are many differences because they were not covered. Like the courtyards in the middle, this is very common of colonial architecture in Cuba. The idea was making the interior of the houses fresher, cooler, more natural light inside. But many differences, like the height of the dome, for example. So it's not a copy. Similar. I like this. These are like drawers, you can see. We found many documents with all the details of the project, and we replicate this in larger scale. It's very interactive room. And pictures of the building work in this website. Look this, the Capitol building with no dome. What they had to do. This was actually not a wetland, but it was not stable ground. So they had to refill this, bring big wooden poles from the east part of Cuba to refill all this as much as possible to build all this on top.
Jeez.
Yes, this is, look at this. How much work? 8,000 workers in total. The statue in pieces, going up. Was found now in the restoration. In the dome upstairs, this was found. These are the original books that were in the library, so they were restored. This is a book of the property of the Capitol building. another book talking about the Capitol building, all the plans. How the rooms were inside, all the pictures. Wanted to build here the presidential palace.
Yes.
He was the one that started the idea. That's why he's there. This other side, talking about the 20s and the 30s. Talking mainly about what happened in the doors when they erased Machado's face. After 59, when we nationalized, when the government expropriated and nationalized private companies, the documents were signed here in the library. Yes, restoration, but not this time. Yes, they were doing some restorations, but punctual works.
Little pieces.
Not the not the whole. These are images of the restoration work, the last one, the big one. Look there, the statue of Liberty. Was the dome. It was big work. Big. And that's another difference with the Capitol building in Washington. The structure of the dome in Washington is reinforced concrete.
Oh.
And here, well, the other. This is south. The other is north.
This is facing the Fraternity Park, right?
Yes, Fraternity Park is.
This is the census face in the United States.
Come on, man.
That's the of the president of the Senate.
Owner of the House of Representatives who have more power. And in the US, the president of the Senate is the vice president. Yes. Yeah.
you have time. This is very symbolic. This is marking 0 kilometer of Cuba. Yes. And it's very interesting, a lot of symbols, 8-side star, because right under where we're standing now, there's a room of 8 sides too. It's the crypt of the Capitol that fought against the Spanish.
Okay.
Number 8 in the funeral art, it means life beyond death or eternity. Yes. So we believe and we see the heroes as the foundation. So that's why right under the 0 kilometer. Okay, goodbye.
Thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications.